And we're back for episode 7 with myself, DFAC Pro Robert Waterhouse.
And not DFAC Pro Aeronn Bevan. Average amateur bodybuilder, Aeronn Bevan.
Well, maybe one of the best lightweights in the Natty 212 class in Britain.
Well, I mean,
That's good. I'll get you a t-shirt with that on, and it's just like the t-shirt's so wide, I better fit it all the way across the top font.
a wide t-shirt, because I don't know if you know, that would be fine for me because I've got quite a wide back.
Okay.
I don't know if you know about that. A really annoying thing about that way you've just described me is that when you tell lay people, when they say, how did you do this year in your bodybuilding? Did you win? I didn't win, but I did this really long thing.
Yeah.
Best top 5 lightweight in Britain. And you're like, and they go like, oh yeah.
Cool. Do you get a trophy for coming 5th?
You're like, yeah. Is it a big one? It's like,
yeah. It's got a little man on it. It's definitely got a little bodybuilder on it, though, isn't it?
It's got this guy, actually. It's this guy.
Oh, excellent. Oh, wait there. So there's a discussion that needs to be, and this is not racist. Do you have a white man or a black man on your trophy?
Well, keen viewers might note that I'm in a boudoir this week. For some reason, can't get the lighting to not look like I'm in a sex worker's office. But, so it automatically looks like a black guy. But I would say that the facial features of this guy suggest more Caucasian descent. Optimal back hair as well, if you can see.
Okay, good. Because I genuinely do have guys like the Thor one I've got. It's definitely a white guy, got long hair, and like it's all like straightened, like, you know, some sort of god.
Yeah.
The one that I've got, which is, I don't know even how to describe him. It's like he's hitting a rock onto something. That's the 50 kilo trophy. He's definitely a white guy. But most of the BNBF ones I have are all black guys. They've got afros. And yeah, definitely not like Thor-like characters.
This guy I've noticed as well, just from looking. This guy is properly peeled. And pretty dense. Have you seen his back? He's got his back's quality. He's got striated traps.
Okay. So good. It's
and
so
a
good.
single, maybe because he's hitting a side chest and that's the way it's gone. Striated lat. You can see that.
That's ridiculous.
So Chris Palin, eat your heart out. This guy.
Exactly.
This guy, better condition. Dare I say it?
Jokes. Obviously, I would just like get my other trophy over from the corner. I don't want to have in the house, but the issue is I actually wouldn't really want to pick it up because it gives me a heart attack every time I need to try and move my cabinet to plug a socket in, and I've got to move that trophy off because it is literally the heaviest thing.
This is a 50 kilo one.
The 50 kilo one, yeah.
Question: have you considered using it as a weight during lockdown?
I have, but it's too awkward to hold. Plus, in bigger news, I've got 55 kilo dumbbell, so I don't need it.
Seen that, yeah.
So bear in mind, story behind this one.
Okay.
So bearing in mind, sponsored by Cherry Pepsi Max this week. Bearing in mind that when I used to train at Feel Good Philly, you got something in your beard, definitely.
Just got to keep that.
Good.
Keep that
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I purchased those at a gym I worked in called the Bolton Arena, which is in Bolton, funny enough. Because the woman who designed the gym, which is basically a leisure centre, thought it would be a good idea to install 70 kilo dumbbells in the club. And basically there was 2 sets of dumbbells, which were 55s and 65s. and the 70s all sat in a back office, just dismantled and piled up in plates.
Wow.
So obviously I saw those and was like, at the time, Darren's dumbbells only went up to like 50 kilos. And I thought, kind of need these, you know, because I could just about press them, I think, at the time.
Right.
And I was willing to pay about £500 for these dumbbells. Bearing in mind, it's 2 sets because I looked online and it's like £1,000.
Wow.
And I went into the manager. I said, "Oh, would you sell me these dumbbells?" And he's like, "Oh." So he got back to me like the next day. He's like, "Yeah, make me an offer." I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I just don't know." And I was thinking, like, I don't really want to pay any more than £400 for them. He's like, 50 quid? I was like, yeah, okay. So I currently own a set of 55 kilo dumbbells, set of 60 kilo dumbbells, and they're all £50 for all of them.
Incredible. Imagine what you get.
Do the maths for what plate that is.
No.
1 plate per kilo. Can't even do the maths.
Imagine what you get for that now with the prices of things on eBay.
Yeah, but I've just realised a lot of people aren't about that life because they're good if I can just about press them and just about, well, I can do rows with them, but it's about it. Nothing else. Yeah.
Could do like totally bro chest press. Like this.
I could do, actually, yeah, I could do.
Or
like a little V handle around it, maybe.
Yeah. You could try and do. You could try and be total strongman and improve your single arm dumbbell overhead press.
Yeah, worst exercise in the world.
With or without an umbrella.
Yeah, with an umbrella is optimal.
Yeah.
So I must apologise. I feel a bit flat tonight. A bit, you know, like I need a laugh. You know. So,
yeah.
Like as in not like flat. Like I feel a bit like I need an extra coffee tonight. That's what I feel like. Maybe I'm tired.
Yeah. It's diet's kicking in now, would you say?
Well, I must have lost this week. It's Claire's fault because we had to go and do. It was at the end of one of her MEPS challenge, which is my zone effort points, if as you don't know, which we have a challenge through work, and she had to go and do. Well, let's put it this way. I did about 25,000 steps yesterday, which is, you know, because I didn't really want her to go out by herself when she didn't really want it, so I went with her. And I've probably done, on average at the moment, I'm doing anywhere between 13 and 17,000 a day.
Yeah.
So I decided it would be a good idea to just go and do some extra steps, but I think I'm suffering for it today. Plus a heavy back workout yesterday as well. So.
Yeah, because I think your training isn't that much different, really, is it, to how it would be in a gym? Where, you know.
Right. I only have a little bit of top end stuff. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed I'm in a groove now because I've got a few more pieces of kit. We picked up some dumbbells, only light, but I've got enough weight that I can put on them, so I can do a few extra things now. I've got enough weight to put on a bar to get some good chest and shoulder stuff out. I'm just hitting high rep leg stuff. And then as for me back, I'm just trying to get form a little bit better and stuff whilst me which update feels a little bit better. So that's nice. But for the most part, I'm in a bit of a groove now. Yeah, but I would say, the top end stuff missing.
Well, you texted me today. So what new exercises have you installed into your routine this week?
Yeah, so rack chins or vertical pull-ups, as you described them, or basically pulling yourself up on a bar, however you want to do it. Mine is between 2 IKEA chairs, which will definitely need to be replaced after lockdown. Shout out to you for the addition of towels to stop them rolling. That did the trick.
Yeah, good.
Didn't have to have Cara hovering over it because she thought it was hilarious when I was doing pull-ups into her crotch. You know, you can imagine. So that was good. But they're staying in actually when everything's done. I think going to just put a bar in a squat rack and pull up because I found that I was doing them probably how people would consider wrong, in that I was targeting upper back. And I was actually watching a video with Hunter Labrada where he was saying how to do them as a proper pull-up or as a lat movement. I don't really need to focus on that quite so much, but I would like to increase upper back musculature. So I was pulling back
so you are doing them as like a high row almost, yeah?
Yeah. But I can do it with a lot more weight than if I had the actual weight, because I weigh more than the weights I've got.
Yeah.
So
you're putting your feet on the floor, or are you elevating your feet on the something else?
At the moment, they're on the floor, but they're right out in front of me, straight. I've noticed that if I kind of, if I do it with my feet, so if I do it with feet flat and my knees back, it's well easier. But if I do them straight with my heels on the floor, it's much, much, much harder. I don't have the setup to do it elevated because I wouldn't. I'm on the floor. You know, the bottom of the movement is on the floor because it's in between two chairs.
Okay, yeah, I've got you.
But because I'm not very tall.
Yep. So, without moving on to what we're talking about this week, we had probably very good response from last week, didn't
we did. It was great. Probably
okay.
But yeah, paid promotion from Dave K. Pretty sure that as soon as he got on the bandwagon, we got a lot more views. But yeah, everyone, thank you for watching last week. It's we're on Thursday recording this. We put it on Monday. It's over 100 views already, which is pretty nice. It's only taken a week to do that for the episode. So if keep pushing that. Plenty of comments and more likes and stuff. Before we go any further, housekeeping, ring the bell, subscribe, like, share,
input. What's it called? Fuck, animations. I don't know. Yeah.
One day we'll get planning to do that. A massive thank you as well to. We didn't really have to do any promo last week for the episode because people were screenshotting funny bits, bits that they liked, tagging the Natty Muscle Radio and tagging me and you, sharing it on the stories. We were able to share it. So really, really, really massive thank you to everybody that has been doing that because spreads the word. And we'll just be doing this anyway, even if no one's listening. But it seems like some people are listening now, and it's quite regular.
I feel like it's finally caught on. People kind of starting to get what it's all about. Like, as I said, I think you said this in episode 1. Like, if you want a formal podcast, then go and visit our sister station.
Exactly.
Natural Bodybuilder Worldwide.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure we'll do a collab with, if that's the right word. Collaboration with Pointers or Chris Edge, whoever.
Yeah.
At some point, which would be good. But what did I want to say? I wanted to say, oh yeah. So this is just like a name and shame, first of all, for QE. Because as soon as the episode went live last week, he texted me saying, "You do realise that you and Aaron have both laughed at the same joke of how long it's taking you to do the podcast every week since you've done it." I'm like, yeah, that's the joke. That's why it's funny. So, so whether it's because of that we're just getting to that point now where we're old and we laugh at stupid shit like this, or he's just too immature and doesn't get it yet.
I think the latter.
Yeah, I think the latter. Sorry, I got attacked by a gnat. So, speaking of which, I got attacked by a spider doing squats the other day as well. So
that's why you get trained in the garden, isn't it?
And trying to blow it. I had to stop because it was right on my face. Anyway, any of that makes spider, but massive.
Well, yeah, Kiwi, name and shame you for that one. Thought you knew better than that.
Yeah, because it's good to laugh at your own jokes, especially when they're that funny.
Yeah, well, someone's got to, haven't they? I also have a present for a couple of people that can fight amongst it. We spoke last week about how Dave K and Marcus don't have a sword.
Okay.
But they'd quite like a dagger.
Okay.
I found my very trusty Swiss knife.
Yeah.
Oh God, I can't even. So strong. Can't get the knife out. So it's mostly a paperweight. Does have a toothpick option.
Quality toothpick for when you're eating optimal sweet corn on low carb days.
Can't even get it out. So
Really?
yeah, it's got lots of things.
I always think of the Ricky Gervais joke when the Swiss Army knife stuff comes up.
Don't know that.
Well, he's basically talking about Switzerland being like sitting on the fence. We're like, have you seen the little knives they carry? He's like, oh, boys, he's got a pair of tweezers.
This has most definitely got tweezers. Corkscrew.
Yeah.
Well,
you can mail it to one of them. Marcus will probably approve. In fact, Marcus somehow like fathomed a sword from somewhere and posted a picture with it. I was like, well, that's not real. It's probably wobbly.
Anyone can eBay a sword.
Exactly. It's not the same. It's got to be earned, as I said. It's got to be earned, mate.
So we took my brother to a reenactment of the Battle of Hastings. He bought a sword there.
Did he?
He didn't diet to win it, and so
yeah. Brilliant.
But yeah, they can fight over that if you like. We can maybe come up with a competition for the two of them.
I think so.
Yeah. And then,
like we could do like a virtual bodybuilding contest where you don't judge the physique on whole, you just judge individual body parts.
wow.
So like for
Like Dave Palumbo style, or like the way Palumbo does poses, we can do body parts.
Yeah. So like obviously like Marcus, he's very limmy, isn't he?
Very
like,
limmy.
Ridiculous arms, ridiculous legs. And then all that bit in the middle, he's just missing out on a bit. So unlucky Marcus. You're gonna have to up your back game, up your chest game.
Mm.
And one thing that always used to really annoy me about Marcus. Sorry, Marcus.
It's quite dogging on Marcus this quite a lot.
Yeah, well, he needs to hear, right? So when you ask for a check-in from Marcus, right, for the first 6 weeks into the diet, he decides to keep his muff hair on his chest.
Okay.
The way I can describe it is it just looks like a vagina. Like it doesn't grow anywhere else. It's just here. And he'll send me close-ups of it every week until I'm like, please, please, please get rid of that. Make me feel ill. So yeah, then he does eventually. But so yeah. So anyway, Marcus, he deserves that because he said that it was a 0 out of 10 our episode last week.
Yeah. I think massive disagreement with that.
Like the Cedric McMillan interview. I hope you get 0 views. That's brilliant. That's so good. So, so I did want to mention one thing. A little bit not controversial, but it's just bringing up Dave K again, really, because of Dave K's wise wisdom and wise, how should we say, behind the scenes of judges' comments.
I was looking forward to this, actually. Yeah.
So obviously, we better throw it out there first. Disclaimer. I could just be making all this up. I could just be fake news, by the way, first of all. But it's not. What judges will do at shows, we will talk between ourselves about like maybe something you've seen, like not so much like how people look, but like when you'll get like a really weird thing happen, like you might find someone turn up and they look like they've put their tan on by falling down a chimney, right? So like that stuff will be discussed, not so much results and stuff like that, because we do try to keep that as kind of like above board as possible.
Yeah.
But Dave K's #1 quote, and it's still my favourite to this day. He said, "Did you see that guy in the over 40s?" I'm like, "Yeah, which one?" He's like, "Well, how do you think he feels about being the most narrowest man in the world?" Just like, you can't come back from that, can you?
No.
Just like the most narrowest man. So that's a Dave K quote, which is one of my favourites.
Imagine being the most narrowest man in the world and on a bodybuilding stage.
That's the point, I think. I think that's the point. Because, and again, disclaimer, I think that most of the time that we are always very, how should we say, what's the word I'm looking for? We are kind of like complimentary, but I would guess that we're fair. I'd say we're very fair. So it's kind of constructive criticism is the word I was looking for.
Yeah, okay.
But there's no escaping that if you're just a super narrow man.
Yeah.
You've got no muscle, then you're gonna. It's like if a fat guy turns up on stage. If I turn up fat, I deserve to be told told that I'm fat.
Yeah.
I'm sure Darren Loxton or his coach DSL would take great pleasure in that.
Hashtag still fat.
Hashtag still fat.
Mm.
So, and the number 2 famous quote was, I said, "Oh fucking hell." Seems to be picking on the Masters a bit tonight, but this is just how it went down. I was like, "Oh, fucking hell, did you see that guy like in the over 40s? Like really over dieted?" He went, "He's not over dieted." I was like, "Is he not?" He's like, "No, he's dead." He's actually, but it was said in a Scottish twang, which was deep. So he's actually deep. Like, what? And then everyone else just started pissing themselves. So yeah. So cheers, Dave K, for those 2 great words of wisdom.
Excellent.
And not that he was hating on all the competitors. So don't everyone get upset and start saying this is what the judges are like behind closed doors, because we're not. We're just this is just said you get a fat guy turn up, you're gonna be judged, and that's just the way.
Or someone that turns sideways and you can't see them. That narrow.
Piece of paper.
Yeah. Couple of things to that point. Will we ever hear the story about you and Dave K sharing a potato?
Not on this podcast. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to save it until I come back for my 2nd episode of Natural Bodybuilding Worldwide.
Wow.
Sister station, because Tom Poynier loves to hear the story every time.
All right, that's fair.
Right.
And another...
do you remember that? Remember that time that you and Dave shared the potato backstage? Just tell me about it again. Well, basically, what was I snapped the potato in half and gave half to Dave. So, but Tom just loves that story. So,
is that the story?
Doctor, I reckon that he's been telling all the patients in the COVID wards about it to bring back morale.
Yeah.
So, well, I once had this friend and just shared a potato with his mate backstage. Cool story.
Has he got the same? It's funny how Cutie and Pointer sound the same.
It's my imitation voice, I guess. Really. Okay. So sorry, guys, but yeah, it is all in good taste.
Yeah. And the other point about judges' table bants. You've told me a funny one before. I think might have been yourself and Stephen Mack who commented that you wouldn't award a bodybuilder for having a large frame.
Skeleton was the word.
Skeleton.
Because this judging criteria clearly states, and I'll put some graphics on the screen for you all when I'm Tom Poynier, or James Poynier, sorry. But yeah, the criteria is muscle on the frame. Hence the reason that you can be 5'2" and still have lots of muscle, rather than just being awarded because you're 7 foot and 7 foot wide, but you actually got no muscle on your frame.
Yeah, just a really.
Otherwise, all your basketball players who turn up would be winning basically. So so that is a criteria. Yeah. So I'm not going to award him for having a bigger skeleton than the other guy. And it was like, yeah, you're probably right. So that's why you may think that you look bigger than the other guy, but actually you don't have more muscle than he does. So
yeah.
So just to I guess clarify that point.
So let that to be a lesson to all you guys with massive skeletons.
Yeah, exactly.
Grow some muscle.
Exactly. Get on them Aeronn pull-ups. We're gonna start calling them now.
Yeah, nice. I've done them twice, but fine. They can be.
You can trademark them for sure.
Yeah.
So so that's enough housekeeping, I guess, really. So we always manage to get through at least 15 minutes of nothingness talk. But we're 26 minutes in.
Yeah.
But maybe that's all people are going to want to tune in for nowadays anyway.
I would. I'd probably tune out now. If you're not interested in bands, just turn off now.
No, I'll tell you what we can do. We can do what the other YouTube stars do. And we're like, if you don't want to listen to bands, you just want to listen to bodybuilding. And then we'll put a timestamp on the screen and say 4 to 26 minutes 50.
All right. Nice.
Yeah. Done.
We can see what the
What do you want to talk about this week?
All right. So this week, did it come from your Q&A with DSL?
It did indeed, actually. Hashtag running every Friday, like almost like another podcast.
Yeah, but a less funny one because it's not got me in it.
Exactly. Second best podcast ever.
Yeah.
Or live feed. But no, it was a client I had online for posing, and this is not because I can't remember his surname. It's just that his Instagram doesn't have it on his page.
Okay.
But he's just like Thomas Coaching. So
is that not his surname? What if that was his surname?
It might be. So shout out to Thomas for this one. But he asked me if I could, let's say, have a visit from Rob Waterhouse in the future, or to go back to my previous self, let's say when I started bodybuilding at 22, what advices would I give to that person, or to myself, I guess? Which I thought was quite good, because it actually took me a while to think about. Like, wow, because I think you've got to do it in 2 stages, really. Sorry, you're still there? You're frozen on me.
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, no, don't worry. You're just gonna have to deal with me now for the remainder, looking like kind of like shocked.
Yeah, I'm not shocked. You're asleep, so that's normal anyway. So yeah, I was gonna say is that it's actually quite hard to answer the question, because I think first of all you have to admit, what did I do wrong when I started? So you came back then, that's better. So yeah, you're gonna have to admit, like, what did you do wrong first of all, or what did you say learn from? And I think that I had to scratch my head a little bit, you know. Like, I asked Aaron on the live feed, and he couldn't really answer the question, because I mean, his only real answer was that, you know, he wished that, you know, or in hindsight, would he have maybe got a bit heavier in an off season rather than keeping into a limit. Which I think so. Yeah. So what about yourself? I'm sure people would have heard some of my answers. So let me start with you.
All right.
Sponsored by Powerhouse Gym tonight.
Nice.
You might want to know.
Cheers.
Jumper.
Wait for the money to come in. I'm gasp. I'm wondering how many times we can say gasp and Powerhouse Gym before we get sponsorship. Wait and see.
Yeah, or food. So.
Anything really. Okay, so yeah, I had to think about these past few days because I thought it was interesting, and there's definitely I have a few points. I think definitely a couple of poignant ones. The most important one being that I would go back and tell my just getting into weightlifting sort of self, or just getting into competing sort of self, that it doesn't matter what you look like condition-wise in the off-season. Doesn't even matter what you look like when you're 20 weeks out, 10 weeks out, 5 weeks out. It matters what you look like when you're on stage.
Yep.
What I mean by that is, it matters to the extent that if you haven't made improvements in the off-season, then you know, it kind of defeats the object. They may not always be massively visible if you have off seasons like you and I. It might take until you come down that you can see anything underneath the burgers and such. And again, I'll also say, I'm not saying that I don't think it's important to either have a good starting point for a prep or start prep early. So case in point, you start prep really early compared to a lot of people I know. But other people prefer to do the elusive, whether it be, you call it mini cut, mini diet, or diet, to kind of trim some of the blubber and then go again, and such that you either give yourself enough time to get in shape, or you start your prep from a better standpoint. It's all prep really at the end of the day. Off season is prep. It really just depends which, you know, I'm prepping now for the next time I step on stage, whenever that may be. But it used to bother me quite a lot that I didn't look a certain way in the off season. So I would have a high level of body fat, but that would mean that I'm not vascular in the gym. I'm not hard. You know, I don't get super pumped and kind of have all sorts of shit going on. You know, I can look kind of swollen now, and as the years have gone on, it my off-season look is better because I'm bigger. But it would, when I was much younger, it would bother me that it would make me think that I would not be as good because I didn't look a certain way. And you'd see other people in the off-season and think, oh, that guy looks like that. What's he going to look like when he's on stage? And I've learned actually that sometimes worse.
Some people don't materialize, do they?
Yeah.
Like they look great, like from a mini cut or like at, like 12 weeks out, but then like from what I look like at 5 weeks out compared to then on stage, it's like so night and day. Whereas people you think, wow, 12 weeks out, like they're already pretty shredded, but not quite there. And then they're just the same, and then it's really disappointing. It's like lackluster is the word. It's like you're like, oh, and there's a few people, and I won't mention names, but it's like they always they do that for me, and it's like I always find the more I diet, just the freakier I look because my waist just continues to get smaller.
Right.
Now stays the same. Whereas in the off season, I was going to ask you the same question. Like my fat ratio is really, really annoying from like a look at me in the gym standpoint, right?
Yeah.
My legs look like competitive ready-ish at 10 weeks out, which means that all my upper body is carrying all the fat. So like literally within 2 weeks after a show, my arms and shoulders have just bled into each other. I no longer can't wear a vest in the gym.
Yeah.
And I just look like I've got fat arms. And even like I thought, oh, like I feel a bit leaner and stuff. I'll roasting outside. I'll train in a top today. I did one set and then went and put a t-shirt on because I was like, I am not posting any videos looking like that. People are going to think I'm fat as a house still. But in reality, I'm not. It's like I've got abs, but just literally zero arm shreds from here. On the insides, I do. So it's like, how can I have sort of lean biceps from the front and then like just like proper fat triceps?
Yeah.
It's so annoying.
And it's annoying for yourself. But, you know, you mentioned that you've seen guys that don't materialize. I've seen guys that kind of the other way around. I've seen guys that in gyms, since I've been competing with the BNBF, I've seen someone in the gym, and I've thought, I recognise them. And then someone I've been with, I said, oh yeah, that's this person. And I was like, oh, the person that competed in this show. And like, yeah. And you look at them and think, well, you look great in the gym. You've got your tight t-shirt and this and that. And I remember you on stage, and it was quite underwhelming. Yeah. And what it says to me,
maybe in a vest or something, or what?
Exactly, yeah. It's normally arms, which probably comes to my second point. But it's not, a good set of arms, can kind of take a physique in a vest or a t-shirt a long way, Yeah. And again, and it's not necessarily getting at people that are like that, I mean, that's it's one good thing for them. But rather, if you don't look like that in the off season, like myself, and and as you've just described, certain parts of your prep, you as well. I mean, I remember one of the earlier clubs at one of DSL's earlier clubs last year, and I come away from it thinking, why am I so much further behind everybody else here? Like, because I'm not in the condition everybody else is. Yeah. And it was the first year working with Darren, and Darren, at the end of the club, Darren came up to me and went, "You look great, exactly. I'm really happy. You look exactly where I want you to be." And I was like, "Okay," but like I couldn't really see it, But that was Darren's hindsight and Darren's ability to know that where I was and where I'd end up. But it's difficult because you do question yourself. But I think I'll never do that again because I've seen where I can be and where I've come from, and what I actually learned now is that actually that's where I need to be to make the improvements, because I do every time I come back. I feel I make improvements. Whereas certain people, they might look the same all year round. I think I shared that post from Fuad the other week where Fuad's kind of guest posing with. It was one of his shows. He's guest posing with the guy who won like maybe lights or something, and it's kind of like it's quite funny. I'll maybe put it on the Instagram page, but it's you versus the guy that stayed lean all year, and Fuad's quite a little bit bigger than this guy.
By about it looks like he's eaten the other guy basically
3 times over. Yeah. And so just without really going off on too much of a kind of off season, what you should do in the off season again, sort of tangent, because we've been through that a few times on our opinions on it. But really, I would go back to myself and say, keep doing what you're doing, when the time comes. Work. Now, I would say that that certainly next time I prep, I'll do what I said is I will be a bit lighter when we start, because I think I need that. A few kilos will mean that it was.
I think maybe what wears thin is then like how long you actually have to diet, and you get actually almost annoyed at yourself because of how long it's taking.
Yeah.
Like I'm patient, but like you said, when you've had been dieting since January the 7th, and by September the 6th, 3-4 weeks out, you're still not ready. You're like, this is a joke now. Come on, because in your head you trick yourself every year of like, by summer I'm going to be shredded because I'm not as fat as I was last time. And then every single time, lo and behold, it's like, fuck, I've got to step on the gas. I've got to take my food right down. I'm going to do cardio. Like, no one just ever said ends up in shape. It's like, it's always that last haul for me. It's like last 14 pounds can just, you really have to suffer to get tight. And like I said, I used to go to gyms, obviously every 6 weeks we'd change because of the job. And, people will just be like, who train there and stuff, or maybe local members and stuff, will be like, oh yeah, it's all right for you. You're naturally lean, aren't you? I was like, really not. It's taking forever to get here. Do you know what I mean? It's so, and because people can't almost understand that, because when you then obviously then get super shredded, you know what I mean? Anything between that, thinking well, you must be. Do you know what I mean? If you're that lean, you must be. But it's but everyone's different now.
To add to that as well, I think it was just bodybuilding made a point about genetics earlier on, and it made me realize, what does it mean to have good genetics for bodybuilding? I always thought that good genetics for bodybuilding was the people that are lean in the off season. So those people that always look like they're gonna do this on stage. Actually, that's not the case, because I think that you have great genetics for bodybuilding. They're just different to someone that is lean all the time. Okay, so you can get in shape. We both joke about having the fat gene. It's quite clear we do, but that doesn't stop us getting in shape.
Yeah,
our methods will be slightly different to someone else that doesn't carry that level of body fat. It doesn't mean we don't have good genetics.
Yeah, maybe we just have a harder time as far as doing it, and that's not because I'm just working harder. It's just that I have to do more.
Yeah.
Let's take one of my good friends, Lewis Smith. He can continue to diet on 500 grams of carbs and just continue to get leaner all the time.
Right.
And I do it almost do exactly the same amount of cardio and push, and I just get to that point where I'm just held there, and he's just like, I'm shredded at 6 weeks out, and I can't eat any more food. I'm sick of eating food because I'm just my metabolism is in overdrive. Do you know what I mean? And he's not he might be doing, and he's putting an effort, he's training hard every day, and he's eating food, and he's, and he's doing his cardio and stuff. But I might just be walking the dogs, but he's not having to, carb cycle to, stupid amount of kids' calories. He's like, oh yeah, my son Saracen, he's 2 and he's eating more oats than you are for breakfast. I'm like, oh, cheers. Thank you.
That's just what you needed to hear. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that, but ultimately, no one would look at no one would look at you on stage and go, that guy's got poor bodybuilding genetics.
Yeah.
I'd like to think nobody thought. It doesn't really matter whether people think that of me when they see it on stage, but I don't certainly look at my pictures and think that's a guy with bad bodybuilding genetics.
Yeah.
But maybe look at somebody that doesn't carry a lot of muscle maybe look at somebody that is just a large skeleton, like you just said, that doesn't have a shape and structure.
Yeah.
I think that is lesser genetics for bodybuilding, and I've certainly learned that over a little while. Is that really the off-season shape just isn't indicative of how good you are.
I think that when we talk about genetics for bodybuilding, it's people who are able to put on muscle at a good rate. Obviously have a good shape for bodybuilding as well. And I think that's where really it comes under. It's not as a case, as you said, like how lean someone is, because some people just like, they're not lean in off season because they just don't want to like follow like a Lee Priest diet.
Right.
Like probably one of the best genetics, like even talked about it, like just for how tall he was and that amount of muscle he had. But like, he's like, from his DVD famous quote, he's like, I will be eating chicken after the show, but it will mostly be Kentucky.
That's the most iconic bodybuilding picture of all time. That picture of Lee Priest with a bucket of chicken on his stomach is the most iconic bodybuilding picture of all time.
Yeah.
You can take your victory pose, you can take your Arnold's, you can take everything, whatever you like, but Lee Priest with a bucket of chicken on his stomach.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's the whole. We could probably even do another podcast on this, because I think we should probably write this down. So yeah, genetics for bodybuilding, that could be a whole other topic. So without getting off tangent, so quickly, so you can answer this for me. So where do you tend to, when you put weight on the off season, where does it all go on, and what do you think is like the best ratio, as far as if you could pick for where you'd like to put body fat on? Arms, yeah, but then it'd just be like a big roll, like a big sausage looking arm. Wouldn't necessarily be like my arm. It just looks like a big sausage. It doesn't look very impressive.
Well, I can tell you where to put it. I don't put it on my arms. I seem to not put anything on my arms. Skin on my arms. Cartilage. It goes very much to my lower abs. It goes very much to my lower back and love handle area. So yeah, probably, and my ass as well. Most definitely, my ass is soft at the moment. Do
you find one thing though? For a lot of people who put weight on their lower half and they keep lean up top, they often have a hard time getting that lower half lean for a show.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say that I'm in the boat where actually my upper half isn't lean either. So fortunately. No, what I would say actually. Since I got in shape for finals in 2017, because that was the first time I was in shape. I said NMR episode 4 to hear the story when I worked with very good friend David Johnston. He got me in great condition. You look back at pictures, I had feathered quads, the works, super flat. But when I put weight on after that, it dispensed so much better. Because I think previously to that, because I'd never been in shape before, I'd just gone from being a fat university, firstly fat goth, then fat university student, and then just fat in the gym. It had gone to those areas where, and again, without getting too science, because I wouldn't pretend to know enough about it, hormone related and receptor related, when you carry them in them kind of areas, like your hips, your love handles, your ass, your lower abs, and some guys, the chest sort of area, underarms and stuff like that. I think over time those fat deposits will build up, but when you start from zero, I guess, well, not zero, but you start afresh, you hit reset. For me, I noticed it dispersed a lot better. And again, the same is true this year. The famous 91 kilogram body weight that I managed to achieve a few weeks ago. Even at that body weight, don't get me wrong, I ain't taking check-in pictures and I ain't looking great. But I have the silhouette of a bodybuilder. And I never did have the silhouette of a bodybuilder at this weight. It was very, very round. But I have teardrop and I have sweep and I even have a waist. I have shoulders, chest, all those kind of things. So I do think the dispersion as fat the dispersion of fat has changed. And okay, it does go more still to those areas I mentioned, the love handles and whatnot, but it's far, far more even now. So to answer your question, yes, I have those places, but since being in shape, it is much, much better. And
it's interesting, isn't it? I remember Lane Norton not so long back put a article or a video up about basically every time that you diet, because you're obviously taking your body down that low.
Yeah.
That your body almost as a survival tactic basically creates more fat cells. Actually, every time you diet is supposed to make it harder for you to actually get lean, which I guess that from a science point of view, yes, but I wouldn't say that. Maybe with age is different, but I wouldn't say that I have really any other time harder getting lean now than I ever did. It's always just been difficult.
You have to be careful with things like that, don't you? Because
people, I guess, can't you? Thinking, well, I'm going to put my diet this year. It's going to be 5 times harder. Not going to do it.
What's going on? And I think as well, you have to be careful when you are looking at studies like that. In my opinion, because certainly with anything with bodybuilding, there's not enough study. You know, I can't imagine there's a study on a large cohort of natural bodybuilders about that thing. Yeah. About that particular thing, that a larger number of fat cells in bodybuilders. It would have been done in, you know, I don't know the study. I'm assuming it was done in lesser trained individuals and bodybuilders, maybe. But I also think maybe it's a subjectivity of feeling like better than the last time you did on the prep. Certainly, this time round, I remember being at a certain amount of weeks out and definitely looking better than the last time, thinking I feel so much better at this point. And it might be because you've done those things before, you've broken past barriers. But then, the last 4 weeks last year, leading up to British, was the worst I felt on a prep ever. And we didn't drop food. We didn't increase cardio. In fact, we added a little food, but I still felt terrible. And I hadn't been there before. You know, so I think being there before makes it easier. So whether deep down you have extra fat cells, I don't think it matters. And it's as I understand it, it's about shrinking fat cells anyway. You never lose fat cells. You don't lose cells. Please, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But as I understand it, you don't lose fat cells; they shrink. So in reality, I don't see how much of a bigger difference it would make. But yeah, without getting too science.
It's interesting. I mean, we often do this, don't we? We talk about one thing and we go off on a tangent, but sometimes it's hard not just to cover it, is it really? Because it just comes.
It's still related, isn't it? It's you know, if we're still talking about things I'd tell myself these things because they're what I've learned about the way I look at this time, you know.
Okay. So obviously, so your advice, first of all, then your main advice was it doesn't matter about what you look like until the day, really. But what else? What else would you almost as like a learned experience or?
Well, I've got another one to wrap that other one up. I would also say that why I think that's important is because I think that I would have made progress earlier had I been comfortable with the fact of how I look in the off season much earlier on. So only now am I able to consistently eat high calories in the off season and be fat because I know what my goal is, and I'm confident that when it's time to flip the switch like now and do a mini cut, and I'm quite happy to do that, and I will drop the weight and then I'll put it back on as and when. But younger Aaron didn't realize that, and younger Aaron would go through periods where I felt like I should gain muscle, maybe catch myself in the mirror and think I'm just gaining fat, so then I'd cut down. I'd be in a flux of diet. Never really consistently off-seasoned enough, I think, to make improvements early on. So that's definitely one thing that I'd say. It kind of adds to that point, really.
Yeah.
Another separate point. It might sound contradictory to something I've said earlier on in this podcast, but it's not the same in that I would tell younger Aaron to train arms. And that might sound like a joke, but it isn't. When I never really, when I first started training, I didn't want to be the guy just doing curls. It was just never why I wanted to go in the gym. I wanted to be squatting and deadlifting and doing heavy things because I enjoyed it. And I also just had this kind of thing that I just didn't want to be that guy, stood in the mirror doing curls.
Yeah.
But what it's led to is a much weaker body part. And if I think of all the body parts that I really enjoy training, legs, back, chest, well, they're my 3 best body parts. And it's because I've put the time in and the effort in, and I've, we've had some great leg sessions, where we've really got into the whole of real intensity, and same goes for chest, same goes for back. Yeah. I don't think I've ever done that for arms, apart from maybe that one time we did arms. But I would definitely tell my younger self that you're going to want to be British champion one day, and you might need some arms to do that.
Yeah, that's it.
So I guess to kind of generalize it a little bit more, what I would say, maybe to generalize it for other people, my advice to other people would be just train your weak points a lot. And focus on your weak points more than your strong points, because I was guilty of that early on.
Yeah, I think I said that last week or the week before, didn't I? About, actually going about, I might have said it on an Instagram post, I don't know, but actually going about making your improvements. So if it means taking, doing legs every second week, every third week, because you've got good legs, then it might mean that you need to train arms, 2 days a week, for 6 months to actually balance and create it. Because originally when bodybuilding first came about, and although it's kind of gone away from that now because it's just mass,
yeah,
costs, it should be about shape and proportions. So therefore, I think that, people just kind of get caught up with that I need to be bigger, and they're just a bigger version of what they already were, which wasn't a balanced physique. So yeah. I think that you always have to, play that in mind. I mean, without getting away from it too much, I was very fortunate that when I first started training, I trained lots of abs because I wanted a 6-pack, because I already kind of had a 6-pack and was like, it could be really good if I trained these. And I wanted slightly bigger arms, and that was the kind of main things. It wasn't even chest and stuff really. I guess I really didn't kind of get into until sort of later on. But I just, I wanted big arms in a short sleeve school shirt that they look.
Yeah.
So I think that for me, I was very lucky because I played football, and genetically already had fairly good legs,
right,
my upper body, that I almost ended up with a balanced physique because of the way that I did stuff. So yes, I didn't train legs probably for the first 2 or 3 years of training. But then as soon as I literally touched a squat, they just ballooned.
Right.
With all stretch marks on the inside of my legs and everything. Just they responded so well. I remember people laughing at my calves and quads when I turn up for a football match. They're like, your legs are ridiculous. We've been doing this literally. I've been training legs, and we weren't even squatting. It was just some basic stuff, a few Smith machine squats and legs. Yeah. But almost. Yeah, and I ended up with more of a balanced physique. The only thing I didn't really have was back, but I think that's just because I didn't really know how to train it properly.
Yeah,
I was all very arm dominant still. So when I did my rows and my chin ups, I could do 15 chin ups, but it was all from really sort of recruiting my arms and not really my back and everything. So that was maybe one thing I learned down the line, really, I guess. Yeah. But to actually answer the question, for people who didn't log on to the live the other day, my kind of main answer was, one, how to do with injury side. So maybe not to train not a case of just moving weight from A to B, of actually kind of maybe controlling and looking at stuff. Whether I would have listened or not is a different story.
Yeah,
I think it was from my own self coming back, and you kind of would have to, wouldn't you?
Pretty cool when you're throwing around 8-plate T-bar rolls, isn't it?
But when I was younger, I've said it before, it would be a bench press would be like a rib cage bouncer.
Yeah.
You'd take out 3 ribs trying to get the weight from A to B. Yeah. I was I could bench 120, but realistically, I couldn't bench 120 properly. It was more of a decline because of how much my ass was off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think there was that, and the other main thing to kind of answer the question was to sort out my eating at weekends, because I was very, you know, very social still with the boys, still wanted to go out every weekend and have a drink. And I still, when I then went out on, you know, for prep, I still went out every weekend, like almost Friday, Saturday, every week without fail. I just didn't drink. I just had water or Red Bull, even full sugar Red Bull, because I don't think sugar-free Red Bull was even around at the time, especially not in, you know, pubs we were going to. And like, you know, I would go through that and maybe some Diet Coke or whatever of an evening. But my Saturday consisted of basically eating out breakfast with the boys and then maybe eating in a restaurant twice in a day. So I'd only maybe eat 3 meals on a Friday, you know, a Saturday. And then the same on a Sunday, it was very much like kind of like I'm not in work routine.
Yeah.
I'm not training. So therefore, you know, always just train Monday to Friday. So like on a weekend, like if you imagine how many meals that's missed over maybe that 2 to 3 year period, you know, overall would probably made a massive difference to my actual development at that age for sure.
Yeah, because I think people, I think I mentioned it before, people who have asked me for advice on putting muscle on before, just, you know, generally people in the gym and stuff like that. The first thing I'd ask them is, what's your diet? What do you eat? And they'll be, oh, I have a big breakfast, and then I go have a big butty for me dinner, like me lunch, depending on what part of the country you're from, and then for me tea or dinner. I have a big like meal, and then I go to bed. I'm like, yeah, but you didn't actually say what you ate. You just said you ate 3 things, like you ate 3 times. And I think people listening to, you know, how you said you ate on the weekend, before you saying that you don't think you ate enough, people probably maybe thought that you were going to go down the avenue, yeah, on the weekends I ate so many more calories than I should have been. But in reality, that's not the case. You didn't eat enough.
Yeah. Because, you know, we would go out for like, you know, I mean, macros wise, I'm sure if you looked at it, probably weren't too bad. But my kind of, and I guess it's the same kind of advice I give to clients, like people say meal frequency has no effect on, you know, your overall result, right? But for me, I know, and this was, you know, something that was drilled in at the Milosh seminar, was that you want a constant drip feed of amino acids to your body. So, you know, you eating every 2 to 3 hours, you know, you are going to get like a much better way for your body to absorb those calories. So yes, okay, people say, well, you can only absorb 20 grams of protein in a, you know, in one single serving. But my point was that maybe I was having 100 grams of protein, eating a whole chicken for lunch. So what I was actually able to utilize that for muscle growth was probably not that much. So my actual is the way I ate. So yes, I still ate a lot of calories at a weekend, but it was like 2 to 3 meals. I know for sure that if I'd eaten the way that I do now, that I would have progressed a lot quicker. And I think that's one of the reasons why, you know, quite a select few juniors and that are so much better now, because they have that,
yeah,
you know, that you know, way to want to diet 7 days a week and live in the bodybuilding bubble. Where I was just kind of, you know, I was very just wanted, didn't want to miss any social life stuff out with my mates. So like, you know, I would often stall, like I'd eat and then we'd be like, oh, we're all going to the hot meal for dinner. And then I would kind of like try and stall as much as I could so that I could go and have another meal and thinking, right, I'm not really supposed to eat yet, but I'm just eating. But, you know, I would always go. You know, so that's the kind of thing, like I maybe only eat, say, you know, three times, 4 at the absolute most on a Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think that, you know, that maybe hurt me for quite a while. You know, probably the first 2 to 3 years of bodybuilding, I would have thought, really.
It's just that lack of consistency, I think, isn't it? And I think, you know, as well, we openly kind of joke on a few people in natural bodybuilding that talk about, you need to be this way, you need to be optimal, you have to do things this way, otherwise you're wrong. But I think generally just being consistent in what you do will you know, bear the fruits of your labor. If that's just eating chicken and rice, if that's eating a certain, you know, I thought it was funny when I can't remember when he said it, but Marcus told me what he. Cheers, Marcus, again for the input in this podcast. Told me kind of how he eats in the off season. So yeah, how he eats in the off season, and it was very much. It didn't sound like a typical bro bodybuilding diet, but it was the same, and it was every day, and it was a lot of calories and a lot of good macros, and he's done it consistently. You know, so it's not necessarily that there's a magic way. You need to eat magic food. Now, I've been suckered into the Evan Centopani grass-fed beef.
Yeah.
Special water, you know, DNI, you know, but ultimately you need to pick a way and stick to it.
Yeah,
it is the best thing, I think.
Maybe not asking for carb up tips though, from what he used to do before he used to work with me though. Marcus's carb up tips was like 10 meals of jam and rice together. Wow. So, Operation Spillage. Any other wise words of wisdom then for back in time thing? I do want to actually bring up one point. It kind of ties in, I guess it does. How I would approach a off-season diet. An off-season diet post-show, because this is one thing that 100% I would have punched the guy in the face if he'd come back and told me to reverse diet. Because in 2008, 2009, I mean, I must have spent about 2 months prior to the show going on TGI Friday's website and looking at the menu every day to find out what food I was going to eat after the show. And I remember watching a video with Kai Green and Oscar Arden. A lot of you people who listen to this podcast don't really know who a lot of these people are. As Claire pointed out to me earlier, I think maybe you should just talk about like you and Aaron, because people don't know who Chris Bumpstead is. I'm like, well, they probably do, but anyways.
Definitely not. They definitely won't know.
Anyways, Tom Poignant, QE, Claire all sound the same tonight. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a good point, yeah.
So my point was, like if I was to go back into time and talk to my 22-year-old self after I just won the British finals.
Yeah.
Not sure if you know I won the British finals my first year.
Sword.
Not a sword then, just a really giant junior trophy. Because the reason why I say that and I bring that up is because in 2009, or maybe 2010, they scaled down the first place trophy size. So then the person who came second has got like a Thor standing up one. That became the first place trophy. I've got one of the original front double bicep, massive white guy, junior guy on the trophy. So I shall put a link in the bio for that picture so you can see that. Maybe I'll post it up on the Facebook. So you can't get them anymore. Can't get that size trophy anymore, just to let you know. So without going off topic, if I had turned up at my door, hi, it's Bob Waterhouse here from the future, and when you finish your show, you're going to take it really easy because you don't want to be in the toilet for like a week after, and you also don't really want to be fat 3 days later. And you also, you know, it's probably not really healthy for you to put on 2 stone in a week. Right? But at the time, all I wanted to do was eat. I didn't care. It was like famous story of sitting in the airport, coming back from Scotland because we got a fly out there the first time round, and I was sat there on the bench, uncomfortable because I'd eaten so much food. I said to Darren, I'm so full. I feel so sick. Whilst chewing one bar. He went, "You're still eating?" I was like, "I know, but I might just have to spit it out because I just want the taste." So eating a chew bar at the time. But yeah, I guess my point being is that whether I would have listened or not, the way that I approach a show phase now is completely different. And that's not really because I don't want to let go, because if I had no stomach issues, really, because that's really the main issue, is the fact that I just feel horrendous if I kind of eat and go to town. Like I just, you know, you're so bunged up and you just kind of like, you feel horrendous. If for me, it's not worth any taste of food, to be honest. I'd rather just have a little bit of stuff after the show, have a burger, fries, fine. But, you know, it used to be like at least like a 7 to 10 day eating frenzy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, I mean, you couldn't have stopped me at the time. So I guess that my question to you is, if you could go back in time and you could maybe look at your very first prep in comparison to what you do now, is it any different? Would you approach it any different? Or like, yeah, would you take on that advice?
Conversely, after my first proper prep, Johnson had me reverse dieting, but to the opposite extreme as what you did. So I had a meal on the night of the show, final show, and then we're straight back onto a really strict diet.
Wow,
it was so hard because I just
harder diet for sure, absolutely.
Yeah, because I just wasn't in on it. You know, I just wasn't mentally in on it. You know, and that lasted for quite a while actually. And I mentioned a couple episodes back that I learned that actually I just ended up being fat anyway. It just took me longer to get fat. Whereas this time, I allowed I took a break post finals on eating sort of regimented. I ate what I want when I wanted. If that was not a lot, it wasn't a lot. If it was a lot, it was. And my weight went up. And then when I kind of got to the point where it was a few weeks ago, I'm happy to kind of come down again now, as opposed to just dragging that process out and just getting bigger eventually at the end. Yeah. So it's a little bit different to the way you did it. You know, that the TGI time, we can call it. But it's something you wouldn't get unless you learn, really.
That's funny because, you know, my always thing in my head, like after watching that Kai Green and Oscar Arden video, the kind of story I was going to basically say was that, like, he had basically advised everyone to post-show, like, just have a bit of fruit and like a bit of a salad because your body can't deal with all that greasy, oily food. I thought, you're absolutely mad. There's no way I'm going to be having some fruit and some salad after this. I'm going to get the biggest, most greasiest food I can find because I need to have that taste. And instead, it's like, but I guess, yeah, it's the aftermath for me, I think, really, which was the, you know, the things that I've learned but I think you need to almost get that out of your system and learn the hard way, because then you think that wasn't really worth it. Like, the burger was nice and everything, but like, if I could continue to eat for a week, I think the biggest one I did was I gained 2 stone in a week, and like my joints fucking killed.
Yeah.
I remember getting off the plane in Washington in 2009, and I thought I'd bought some Air Jordans that were too small. It's because my feet had swollen up like an old granny's. Or like, actually, the puffiness of my foot was like bulging over the tongue of the shoe. And I was just like, I can hardly walk. Like, I'm, you know, in a bad way. And that's the time where you think, like, that can't be good for you to put on, like, you know, 2 stone in a week. Like, you're constantly out of breath, probably because your blood pressure's gone up.
Yeah.
So, like, all them things that you probably, if you probably have some, like, test done, like, they'd be thinking, like, you're not, you know, that's not good for you.
No.
You know, far worse than I said, like, for now, it's like, it's really reserved, but it's like, it's not because I don't want to eat. It's just basically, I said, like, I would rather just, as I said, I'm going to get fat inevitably, but, like, you know, it's nice if I can try 20 different things to get fat rather than, like, I'm fat in 2 days and I've eaten all that food in 2 days. Because then you just end up going, like, I look terrible all of a sudden. And then it was like, try and scale back because you don't want to lose shreds. Trying to get back on a diet, and then you just the most half-hearted diet ever. And then you just end up binging and switching between the two anyway.
Yeah, I think it takes doing it the way you did it, sort of the way I did it. And I guess it only pertains to people maybe like you and I that don't just stay lean anyway. That you just kind of have to maybe suffer through it a little bit. And then go, okay, I know this is the way I need to do it. So,
because I mean, I'm sure it's different for everybody. Like, I know probably some people, especially if they're eating a good amount of food at the end of their prep, probably you know, continue to eat on after the show and still feel pretty good and still look pretty good. But I always know for me, because I'm not eating much towards the end of the, the shows, and I can openly say that, like I'm not eating much at all. You are going to get a quicker weight gain. But I think that, going back to your point before, like reverse dieting, I think I do think, and it's something Mike Claxton had sort of said to me after a prep, it all really depends on how you feel after that show. Because in 2017, we came back from Worlds on the Monday, and I went back to work on the Tuesday. And I think I put 2.5 pounds on, I think, from cut. And I remember walking up the stairs at work, showing someone round, and went, I need to eat more food, because I was that lightheaded still, and that reserved that I could only had a few meals.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I actually need to get myself out of this hole.
Yeah.
I need to come up 10 pounds to actually kind of feel a bit more normal. And I think that a lot of people who, and in this day and age, I think is far worse, because people want to kind of optimize on show Instagram pictures. I want to look great for this period of time with a nice pump in the gym. But for me, it said, like, I felt dreadful. And I was like, wow, there's absolutely no need for me not to be a bit heavier. So the flip side for me definitely is there's somewhere in the middle I need to find, I think, where, come up.
I think I got a bit closer to that middle this year. Obviously the weight went up, but I agree that I just wanted to be relaxed again post show. I wanted to make sure there was a definite delineation between, how, because our head is on when we're prepping. We have a laugh and we have a joke, and we like to not take ourselves too seriously. And but we also are passionate about bodybuilding. There's no doubt about that. And I mentioned a few episodes back at the switch I noticed in you when we train. We'll have a laugh and joke, and then we train, and we're training, and then we laugh and joke after, but not whilst we're training. Because the stage is important, bodybuilding is important for us. But at the same time, I feel we need to be able to switch off from it as well when it's done. And for me, that meant being able to enjoy time with Cara, with friends. And if that meant weight getting up relatively quickly to feel regular again, to not feel dieted, I think that was important. And I think you're right, that kind of like 10 pounds sort of thing. That's kind of maybe a little on the low side, really, for me.
I think it's something you realise. I think that I think one thing I've learned from each prep I've done is that, like, I kind of know when I'm dieting. Like, how a lot of people, they kind of, maybe they diet and they're like, I'm no different. Like, I know that now that I'm definitely a bit different. Like, I think that it's like let's say like my energy last week was great. I think I trained, I had a bit of a pre-workout and stuff, and you come on and you're just buzzing, aren't you? And I feel like days today, like where I've rested, I'm a bit sore. I'm definitely not quite as chirpy.
Yeah.
Not because I say you probably just body's a bit more beaten up, and you don't have the calories coming in to make you feel a bit better. But that's one thing that I've noticed, that it's not so much like I'm grumpy, because I never really get grumpy. I'm just I would just say I'm just working at, I feel like I'm at 80-90% as far as my output level. Whereas I'm an off season, I'll be fucking singing and running around the kitchen trying to moonwalk or something. It's like,
well, everyone's got that to look forward to then next year, maybe.
Exactly. So I definitely feel like that it's something that I noticed that I do differently. I think as I'm starting to diet and get into it, it's like it's like waves, isn't it? So you really try, and other times definitely depends. I think whether you've had a rest day or not as well. You're definitely more tired on rest days, but then maybe that's why I need a rest day. I need to recover. So
yeah, who's probably lower as well. So and shout out Chase Claire for saying that I'm funnier because you're dieting. So thanks for that.
Oh yeah, did I say that? Did I just? Oh, I didn't even tell anyone. So yeah, for anyone who's wanting to know about that, Claire likes to give me feedback on the episodes. And she said,
Claire voice, imitation voice pending, by the way.
Sorry, I'm not sure if it's. I don't even do it now. I'm not sure if it's because you're dieting, but I definitely say that Aeronn was funnier than you are. So cheers, Claire, for not being Team Bob and Aaron being funnier than I am. So,
All right.
why are your thumbs so muscly?
Sorry?
Why are your thumbs so muscly? Do that again. What's that? That bit, that extra bit of muscle, Flex Lewis there. No, go down, go down, go down. This bit. This
Here?
bit. Look at that.
Whoa, hey.
Show that on stage. Whoa, check that out.
Is that just? Have I just got like fat person hands?
No, that's Flex Lewis growth hormone hand. So yeah, see, look at that. An extra thumb on there. And you said you didn't have good genetics for bodybuilding, you liar. You got muscles in funny places.
All right, on that bombshell, we should probably leave it. I'll leave a link here for my thumb muscle ebook. Available soon.
Available next to Kai Green's vegan book.
So, not bad. Well, yeah. Who used to have a protein called carnivore? Funny.
Exactly. Just to leave on that bombshell, did you ever read the MD article? Throwback to you guys who used to bodybuild and read MD. The biggest post-show meal ever witnessed by competitors that Kai Green ate.
At the Firehouse.
It is ridiculous. I'm gonna have to pull the article up and post it, but it was like
I think there's a video. Because he just keeps ordering.
Didn't they? Like it was like the first plate was like 26 sausages. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Like,
I'm pretty sure you can get the video. Yeah, I'll try and find it. So
especially they probably did the video off the back of that first article, but yeah, everyone said like the man can eat. So yeah, so maybe like Oscar Arden having a go at Kai Green saying you should just have some fruit, and he was like
26 sausages.
First plate is 26 sausages. So yeah, that's it. So we'll pull that up for sure. But yeah, good. Right. Well, so sorry if I'm a little bit flat tonight, but I think we got through it.
Doesn't matter because I'm funnier anyway.
See you later.
Peace.